Yeah, that was my understanding of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been pushed off to the side as of yesterday, but the thought is it's just a matter of time before it gets reenacted.
Yep. This is a great lead generation opportunity. Call all your money lenders and drug dealers, and they still have opportunity to buy property now. So it's good.
That's right. All foreign entities can still get in their cash purchases.
They're back in the game.
I don't know if Chinese people investors can invest or not. I'm not sure how that's panning out, but might depend on where the property is. But well, cool. So, well, since we're getting people here, I wanted to go ahead and we'll get started. First thing I was thinking would be kind of fun to do is, I know a lot of us participated in Ryan's class the other day, and I was just wondering if anybody had any questions or follow up about that. Josh might be on here too. He is, but we may be able to help with some answers regarding that stuff or equipment. And then I did want to say, if you haven't, I know there's a lot of photographers who we've worked with. We've worked with Jordan Ashley, and there's another Ryan that out of Pleasant Hill. I forget his last name. He does great work too. But I was gonna say, if you haven't had Ryan help you, or maybe you haven't had a listing yet, it'd be worth taking some time to maybe have coffee or something, or Coke Zero with Ryan and get to know him a little bit. So if you do have listings down the road, or let me rephrase, when you have listings down the road, you already have a guy in your corner and you can speak to his approach and his marketing when you're in those listing appointments. So just wanted to give him a shout out. If you haven't done work with him, Josh and I have, and Ashley has, and we've enjoyed working with him. And, he was an agent in our office previously, so a lot of us already knew him from that as well. So, but anyone have any questions about his presentation, about shooting short form video for any platform? Crickets. All right. Yes, we learned a lot that day. He was a good instructor. So seriously though, if you have questions, reach out to Ryan for video. There are a lot of great sources on YouTube for real estate video content, and I'd encourage you to dig into it, because if you don't want to knock on doors and you don't want to call a lot of people, you got to do something, and you don't even have to be on screen to shoot effective videos. So there's ways around that too. So just wanted to encourage you to think about that for a cheap, easy way to do some content. So Ryan's even done some videos. So I also wanted to throw out, it's the end of the first quarter. And, I hopefully we set goals at the beginning of the year. And I was curious if anybody would kind of share how they're doing working towards their goals, and if, they're looking at, or if it's time to reevaluate activity and what you might do in the second quarter to work towards those goals. Anyone want to speak up?
Yeah, I'm happy to, Paul. One of the goals that we had this year was to be more consistent around open houses for lead gen. We've got a couple of neighborhoods in specific that we want to capture the market share in, and so we've done a couple of open houses that were ours, and then a couple of open houses that were other agents that we held open and canvassed the neighborhood. And it's the canvassing part of it is a long-term strategy, but I know that time on task over time pays dividends. And so I'm proud to announce from Bold. I'm proud to announce that we're on track. We're actually one open house ahead of our goal right now, which is really cool. And we've got a couple of clients or future clients in our pipeline from those activities. So although the sales hasn't necessarily shown up from that goal, we're seeing it. Our pipeline is more full than it's ever been from those lead gen activities. So for what that's worth, we've started off okay. GCI wise, we're behind a little first quarter, but second quarter's looking really, really strong. We're probably going to make up and get back on track before the end of second quarter. So I'm pretty psyched about that. But we've pounded the pavement, every day. It's kind of been a little bit exhausting, but it's showing up, Paul. So yeah.
Awesome. You keep saying we. Who's we?
Debbie Keller, and I partnered up about a year and a half ago,
Cool.
and she's running like back end stuff, doing all of our TC and contract to close, and then she steps up to the plate a little bit lead gen wise. She's kind of like a home run hitter. She doesn't do the daily lead gen. I do a lot of the daily lead gen, and then once we're ready to close it, then I kind of close and then hand off to her.
Awesome. That's cool. I didn't know that. So that's
Hmm.
cool. I thought maybe you had a friend in a mouse in your pocket or something, but
I
um,
do. Mickey,
so yeah,
Mickey
that's
and
good.
Mickey and I.
And I
Yeah,
appreciate you talking. I wasn't sure my mic was even on there for a minute. So thank
it
you.
was. I heard you. I heard it.
All right. So who else wants to share something? I'd love to
Everybody
hear.
heard you swear, but nobody heard you when it comes to jumping on the
Oh,
mic.
I didn't swear. That was Lonnie. That was Lonnie. So, but anyone
What do you
else?
guys use for like percentages on like say if your goal is 10 million, I'm assuming you guys don't do 25%, 25%, 25, 25 on the quarters. I've always done it like 15% on the first quarter, 15% on the last, and then 35 in the middle too. I wasn't sure how you guys do that.
What did your last year numbers look like?
Uh, mm, I mean, that's usually about what it is as far as percentage wise.
Yeah.
Um, it seems like I do 70% of the business in the middle two quarters, it seems like, and then about 30% in the first and last. Maybe a little, maybe 65, 35. But
Yeah, I think you're probably. It seems like good math to me, and of course you can adjust it if things aren't
yeah,
going like they should or like you anticipated. You can always adjust that.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at, Jake. Last year, fourth quarter was a little heavier than 15%. And I know my second quarter this year is on. I hope that it's not, and I know hope's not a strategy, and we're going to keep pounding the pavement. But I did bold in the fourth quarter last year, and bold always tends to show up for me towards the end of first quarter. And it really did show up. I've had like four deals that we just couldn't get put together. And then I just had two last week that fell out during inspections. So that's six deals that like really probably could have hit in March. But for the most part, they're just going to push to April. So second quarter is going to look even bigger on a percentage wise than first quarter. But I mean, I know, sometimes things have to play out perfect in order for those bold activities to show up in first quarter, but really first quarter would have been a little bit bigger than 15% against my last year's numbers, Jake. But I had a bunch of deals that look like they're going to push into second quarter. So, and I'm okay with that. I mean, as long as they close sometime, I'm great with it. But I think the numbers are probably going to skew a little heavier towards the second quarter than what they actually were. They were all targeting and tracking to close in March and be March business, and then they're going to push into second quarter. But yeah, I think your numbers on that's pretty. That's a good guideline. Last year and the year before, sorry, last year and 3 years ago, my fourth quarter was pretty heavy. It was more like probably 25%, but then first quarter last year absolutely sucked. Like I think I closed one or two deals in the first quarter. So.
yeah, I feel like
Jake,
that's,
I'll speak.
oh, go ahead.
Jake, I was going to speak to your question as well. I'm like Tim, pretty slow start, 10% usually in our first quarter when we run our numbers of our total volume. We run 10-40, 30-20 is what we end up doing. And so the fourth quarter, we wrap up a lot of things, and then it's mostly relationship building and getting things set up for first quarter. But what we see is it's a slower start. People aren't ready to quite go in January and February. We don't quite get to the finish line in March. We got a few things finishing up right now, but then second quarter we find the motivated a little bit easier. I think it comes to us just from the lead generation activities. They show up and like, yeah, we definitely want to move in April, May, or June, and we hit that. So that's why I think we hit that 40% number, that large number. A little bit of a lull in third quarter with July being slow. With we see vacations, things like that slow us down, and then kind of finish up the year at 20%. So it's a guideline is all it is, but you really got to put your foot on the pedal and keep your pipeline full. Just like Tim said, you've got it. Like how does he feel right now? He feels pretty good. His pipeline's ramped up. So he has a lot of options. He's talking to a lot of people, and then that will help him get to the finish line in that second and third quarter like he wants.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess Ryan. I like Ryan's numbers because I did 10% in the first quarter. So I'll go with that. Now my goal personally was 30.
What's your pipeline look like though, right? Pipeline would be full right now.
I've got my goal personally was 30 for the year, and the kids have their own. And I closed 3 in the first quarter. Last year, Josh and I total closed 2 in the first quarter, so I'll take 3. And then I've got 6 closing in April, and which that's 9, and it'll get me to a third of my goal in a third of the year. So I'll take it. But I only have 1 potential new listing coming the end of April, and maybe a buyer closing in May. So pipeline's kind of not looking as good as it was for getting up here, but I've got something there. And that's kind of leads me to the next step. I talked to my kids yesterday, and of course, Ashley's newer, but I talked to Josh and I suggested that we all 3 come up with our next 90-day plan for what we're going to do next level, one thing to really get business growing. And we're all in different places in our business. Ashley's going to work on, just for some examples, one thing we discussed was maybe she get to know that Richmond and North Ray County area more by just like she went to the groomers yesterday and maybe has a buyer's appointment out of that now, just because she's meeting people and she's not afraid to say what she does. So, and granted, it's a lower price buyer, but it's a buyer and it's a connection. And if she's not here, I'll let her speak to it. I don't know if she is or not, but so we talked about what each of us individually can do. And then we discuss how we're going to help hold one another accountable to those. So we kind of have a built-in accountability system. I know not everybody does. And maybe that's something as you're thinking about, or if you choose to think about what you want to focus on in this next quarter, maybe you find someone else on this screen right now or someone else in the office to share with and be an accountability partner. I think that can be really valuable to hold one another accountable for something. So Trisha, I know you had a great year last year. Would you mind sharing maybe where you are with your goals for this year?
Sorry, had to find my unmute button. January was actually great for me and I was so excited, but February was a huge downer and March hasn't been great. So I start over on January 1st, trying to pay off all my Keller Williams debts to get to that 100%. So I find that really hard when real estate seems to be slow when I start over. And so I can get a little bit discouraged, I think, because it just seems to take too long to get there. But, I tried to stay super consistent in communicating with people, and now I'm busy. And so March is going to end up okay. We were able to move a closing up. So I'm going to squeeze it in, and I'm not going to have a 0 in March, and April should be good. And I have listings, which is even better. And so, yeah, I was not feeling super excited when I saw February and what March was looking like, but right now I'm feeling okay.
Awesome. I had a goose egg in February and March too, so don't feel bad. But so have you thought of anything different you might, I'm putting you on the spot, anything different you might do this next quarter to keep that momentum going?
I have recently, because I needed to try some things, is I reached out to some lenders that I've used at any point in time and just kind of reminded them that this is what our business is about, and it's about sharing. And I actually got a lender referral 2 days ago. So cool. I was kind of like, okay, I need to remind you that I have a lot of options and this is the kind of business that we're in. And, that was great. They were like, ooh, I kind of get that. You did send me people last year and maybe I need to try to reciprocate. So that one, it's not huge, but it did remind them that I'm out there. So I felt like that was good. And I recently had somebody say to me, hey, I used to put your lights on your house, but you didn't use me the last 2 years. And it kind of caught me off guard at first, to be honest, because I was like, oh my gosh, I've hurt somebody's feelings. And I'm not good at that. I don't love that. But I just said to them, hey, it just happens to be that the person that did my lights this year has chosen to partner with me in my business. And so I'm partnering him with his. But hey, there's room. So I just decided to turn it around and try not to feel like, oh my gosh, I've hurt somebody's feelings, and be like, I'm here to partner with local businesses and jump in. So hopefully some of that circles back around.
Awesome. Awesome. Anyone else want to share anything about how their year's going so far, or what they might want to do different?
I'm just encouraged to hear how everybody's talking about it being slow. I feel pretty good. I have 3 closings in May and two more either in maybe April or May. So I feel pretty good about that. But boy, from November to May, I'm like, holy cow, that's a dead man zone. So it's encouraging. Again, I feel pretty good. I should have 5 by June, which is, I think, okay. It's pretty close to what I'm tracking for my goal for the year. But it's good to hear that the summer is going to be like, we're still in the momentum time. I wasn't sure kind of when the busy time ended.
Gotcha.
Typically, I guess, is that like August, I guess, when everybody goes back to school? Is that typically when it slows back down? I was trying to remember from last year.
Yeah, there's a summer lull, that hits as people are prepping, but honestly, it's usually pretty temporary. If you look at our overall numbers, December, January, February are kind of our 3 months where seasonality really lands, but it's not uncommon for people to have amazing months in November and December. January, not as much, but we see that a lot. I think I hear too many people just get all bummed out because their first quarter, they feel like they've fallen so far behind goal, when, what Paul pointed out is you have to realize that it isn't 25%, 25%, 25, and 25. It might be 15%, 35%, 35. It's a different ratio. If you look at it like that, then even if you're still behind that number, you're not that far behind. So, and let's face it. I mean, things can change in a hurry. 3 good phone calls, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, especially if they're double dippers, buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you got 6 transactions that you're, on your, in your world. You went from going, I could be a lot busier, to now, what the hell am I going to do? So, it's, I think a lot of this is just keeping our head on and staying positive and believing what we're doing will provide the results that we're looking for.
All right. Thanks for joining me in the swear jar. I appreciate that, Lonnie. So I think something that's also important, especially for newer agents and even those who've maybe been in a rut, the work we do now isn't going to show up necessarily right away. And, conversations you had in November could very well be money in August, So it's really, and tell me, I have to remind myself of this all the time. Trust me, when it's March and I don't have any money coming in for the whole month, it kind of sucks. But April, I should have looked pretty good. So I just have to remind myself that, I got to make sure I've got something lined up for May, June, July, and I'm working that pipeline. And working the pipeline it's strategic, but it also can be very, very casual too. Talking to, like, my daughter, talking to the groomer, talking to someone, maybe a friend, Quick Trip who works there. The pipeline isn't necessarily like 5 hours a day on the phone. It can vary, and it can do whatever fits your personality. Like Trisha, I was great to see you at the chamber thing the other day. I think you ought to consider joining. You live out here, people. I think they're between Belton or Raymar. I think it'd be worthwhile for you to join. And frankly, Keller Williams agents are the only ones we see at chamber events, with the occasional Jordan Hefner or somebody. But frankly, it's our people there, which is kind of cool. So, but and anyone else, you ought to visit a chamber thing. I think it's worthwhile. Even if you're in Archie or somewhere down there, I'm sure you've got one down there. Anyone else have anything to share regarding goals, or what something you want to do? Or maybe you want someone you want to partner with? I challenge you to find an accountability partner and for whatever it is you want to work on. So we talked about the video a little bit, and we talked about attracting business and the pipeline. What if those things work together? Like you make a video regularly, you get your face out on social media, and people see you, and then maybe next month they're ready to talk to a realtor, and they just saw your face online. Could that improve your chances of getting a phone call or a DM or something? These things are all related, and I think it's important to think about it that way, because it's whoever they saw last or heard from last is probably who they're going to reach out to. Anyone have any experience with that?
Yeah, we got to be top of mind. I mean, the way you stay top of mind is you're just making a lot of touches, a lot of contacts, and everything you're doing. You just have to be engaging the general public, engaging your database, and when you choose not to, just know that's a day that somebody else may be touching your database. So it's just it's time on task over time, and it snowballs and creates business that's much more predictable and much more sustainable. And then you can even get a little lazy if you choose to, and then the thing will still, the cash register will still ring, but it takes a lot of work over a lot of years to build that.
So cool. Anyone else have any specific questions, thoughts, or challenges going on right now in your business? You want to get some help from the group?
I did want to update everybody. Lonnie, you wanted an update on how that deal was going. So for everyone else, what happened about a month ago, we had a transaction. We had a buyer who got under contract on a property with some land. Super excited about it. And then about a week and a half after we got under contract and we got through inspections, we had some things that we needed done. The seller agreed to that. And then the seller actually passed away.
Oh.
So yeah, never had that happen before. So now me and the listing agent are just like, okay, what do we do now? Basically, the listing agent really doesn't have a seller now. So we go through the process of trying to find out who the new seller basically, or who's going to sign and if we can even go forward. Our first thought is just shock, of course. And then you don't know. We really thought, this deal may just be dead now. But if you know me, I would like to find the next step and we would like to move forward. I don't like to just think, oh, this is over now. So we ended up, long story short, we ended up finding the daughter who is local. And that was hard to navigate because, her mother just passed away. But then we also have to tell her, hey, we actually have a deal in this house. We need your help. There was no will or anything. So we ended up having to go through the probate process, which, as you know, can take 3, 6, 9 months, just depending. So that sucked. We had to navigate through that. But it ended up the daughter wanted to stay under contract with us. So that was great news. And then she ended up getting with a lawyer very quickly. And the lawyer wrote everything up, got it to the courts. And we were just waiting on the judge at that point. We didn't know how long that was going to take. We ended up hearing from the judge actually pretty quickly. I think we only had to wait like 2 weeks, and he signed off on her being the personal representative. So that ended up all going well, and everything is being signed, and we are supposed to close next Tuesday. So everything ended up going good on it.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was definitely hairy going through it and kind of navigating through it. What got us through was being a Keller Williams agent and just knowing that I need to work with this other agent as much as possible, stay with open communication, knowing exactly what's going on with them. And that this listing agent is actually a broker as well with 20 plus years of experience. So that helped a lot. He had never gone through this experience either. So we were just kind of navigating it together. He talked to his broker friends. He encouraged me to talk to our broker and Lonnie, which I did. So just working together and keeping communication open. And I really, with any other agent, you guys know, I really don't think we could have navigated this together and got to a closing date and actually be closing next week. So that was critical in this, I think.
Great share, Camille. This industry will keep you on your toes. I would say at least 3 or 4 times a week, something comes up with our agents. We got 121 people out there. And, at the end of the day, something comes up we've never seen before or haven't seen in decades or, whatever. And, when that's happened, what happened to you has happened to me, but it was early in my career. I couldn't even remember how it worked out. I couldn't remember the obligations for the representative for the seller and things like that. But yeah, you lean in on your resources. It did help that you had an agent on the other end who was wanting to continue to move forward. And then fortunately, you had family members that obviously are going through a difficult time, but wanted to see closure. So you had a lot of things going in the right direction. And I think Cofelt got involved in that, if I remember correctly. But these things will happen, and sometimes you guys call in with something weird, and Darren and I and whoever else, Sandy or whoever we're talking, we kind of have to pause too, because we just aren't 100% sure. And but we've got Nathan and Scott, and I can just go on with the people that carry broker's license in our office that are very knowledgeable. But nonetheless, you guys trip us up every day. But I'm so happy you persevered there for your client. That's a great share. Thank you for sharing that today, Camille.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for really, if I wasn't with Keller Williams, I'm not really sure, because a lot of people at other brokers, they don't have those resources to call. So it's great that I was able to call you guys. You guys always answer the phone. And even if you don't know the right answer, you always help me navigate through it. So I really appreciate it.
So I have a question.
That's awesome.
Can you hear me?
Barely.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So I have a question. I had sellers call me, and they before their mom passed, the mom filled out paperwork and wanted to put the house in a trust and all that. She did, but it was never put into the house was never really put into the trust, even though they made a will and all that stuff. They never finished the final step to actually sign whatever the deed is. Anyway, so now my sellers have to go through probate, and they found out through my title company that if you wait a year and 1 month, that then you can actually try to get possession of the house as the heir of the house without going through probate. Now, I don't know how much probate is, but my family is just really strapped and they don't have money. And I just wanted to know, is it the same way with a realtor there, where they don't really pay for the probate lawyer until the house closes, or do they have to come up with that up front? You know?
I'm not sure on the seller end on this, or our personal representative, if she had to pay out of pocket. I actually ended up knowing her. Our kids end up playing soccer together. She lives in Adrian, and that's where the house is as well. But she has a big family. I know this money is really going to bless them. So, I mean, at least some good is coming out of it for them. But I think it depends probably on the attorney, and if they agree, maybe from the proceeds of the house, they will get paid, if they would agree to something like that. But I don't know exactly how that went.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, that's a great question for the attorney. My guess is there has to be some money invested up front to initiate the process, but maybe some of it can be collected on the back end, depending on who they're using for all this. Just a phone call to find out that answer would serve them well. As an agent, let's just assume that the cost of this was $3,000. No different than having a program in place where people can either get a HELOC on a house. I know we have at least a dozen agents in the office that will help finance things, improvements to the house to get them sold, and things like that. But this could be another one of those situations where, either having the resources available to them or providing the resources could be another value add for your business.
So are you saying like maybe volunteer to pay for the probate lawyer, or is that what you're saying, kind of, Lonnie?
I would want to know more facts before I did that. In a case like this where you're dealing with heirs, it's probably a little bit more challenging to do that. But I know we have 3 deals going right now where in each situation the people needed from 20 to 45,000 in monies. And we have a program where we'll finance that and we get paid just like a bank and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not going to be out there for 3 of them. So, but what I have set up is I have a great HELOC resource for people to access a HELOC when they have good equity in their home. So the other 2 people are using the HELOC resource that we provided for them. So again, being the solution to their problems is, not just in this case, but just in many cases that come up is how we earn their trust and we earn the business for sure.
Lonnie, Jake asked who you use for your HELOCs.
The 2 that we just sent out, they're both Cass County properties. So we're having Gabe at Sherwood Bank is doing both of them. His terms are fantastic. Takes about 30 days. Sometimes they do an appraisal. Sometimes they don't even need one. Depends on LTV and things like that, quality of the borrower. But just knowing that, hey, this is the first call you should make, and they make that call, they call us back and go, wow, we did an online app with him and he said, not a problem. Give us 30 days. We'll have the money for you. And it just took their stress from here to here. And yes, we could have loaned them the money too, but there's not enough money in it to really do that consistently. So if I can just provide the resource, let the bank be a bank, then that's always going to be our number one choice.
Another resource for that is RG Credit Union.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the board, so I can kind of speak to them. They're and also mortgages. Honestly, Todd's awesome. 99% of our buyers that we work with, we have them use Todd unless they already have someone. But RG just locked one of my clients in on a $535,000 house. He's at 634. He's a 23-year-old kid, but he makes about $250,000 a year. So and his score is under 730, but he was able to get 634 just last week. So they're 599 if you've got 730 or better and other good stuff going on.
Wow.
So they're, credit unions are nonprofit, so they have a different model. They're not paying Wall Street or something like that. And they keep the mortgages in-house at RG, and their office is right up the street from our office on that dead end if you didn't know. But it's $5 to be a member of the credit union, and then you can get a loan. Josh and his girlfriend got a mortgage, or fiance got a car loan, and I think someone else I know just recently did too. So they're great to work with. They get back with you quickly. You have 1 or 2 points of contact. You're not working with a big team, and they take care of you. So if you want another option, Bill Keeney has been on the board forever. He got me on the board, and just wanted to share that for another resource. So, but anyone else have any challenges going on that might need group help, group therapy?
I got one for you, Paul.
Sweet.
I've got the son and then the mother-in-law. They have 2 separate houses right now. They both are wanting to sell and then move into one large house with the mother-in-law's quarters. But they're afraid that mother-in-law is going to have to go to like a state home here fairly soon. And they were worried if she helps buy the house, can the state come and seize their assets if she had owned it in the last couple of years, even if she quit claims it over to the kids. I wasn't sure. Is Tom or Tony on here? They work with old people.
They are old people.
Yeah. You took the words out of my mouth. But that's almost a legal question. I mean, Tony may know something, but I think that's
that answer for that is contact a lawyer.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I told them about Scabuzzo. That they do a lot of that stuff. So they're going to talk to Scabuzzo and get probably maybe even a trust or something set up before we buy. But that came up a couple days ago, and I was like, well, I don't know. So
yeah, I think I think something that we need to keep in mind, guys, is and our attorney that handles all of our stuff for Southland always brings this up over beer. He goes, guys, you're not supposed to be the experts of everything. We all want to be, and we want to be solution based, but we're not experts in everything. Even within the real estate field, go try to do a warehouse lease in the commercial world. Hey, you're licensed, you can do it, but I bet most people on this call, including myself, wouldn't be real comfortable in that. So if we don't even know all of our space, how the hell are we supposed to know the legal space, the tax space, all these different areas? Let's give these people great resources and let the professionals do their job. You know, they always say hire talent and let talent do their job. Find the talent within those arenas. Having a cursory knowledge is not a bad idea. By the way, Chat GPT can make you feel a little smarter than you are very, very quickly. But at the end of the day, these research, Paul's laughing, Chat GPT boy. But nonetheless, we got to let these people make the call on these things.
And I know sometimes that can suck because you might want to try to get the property listed, but you've got to wait and make sure they have their ducks in a row. And yeah, it takes more time, but you also want to make sure it's a win-win for those clients and they don't get stuck in a bad situation down the road.
That's actually a script my mom and I have been working on, is how to not answer every question. Because sometimes, especially whenever you're new, you don't want to act like you don't know anything. So that might be a good script practice for some of us to practice, is just kind of deferring the answers to somebody else without losing the confidence in our client.
Well, and that's where like a newer agent, and I was there, and still, heck, I still get questions I don't know the answer to, as we all do. And I think it's important to say, either talk about the attorney or the tax person, or if you're newer, maybe say, I've worked with a great team of people in our office. Can I get with somebody and get back with you? That doesn't show. I think most of the time a client's going to respect you for acknowledging that you aren't sure, instead of giving them wrong information that can bite you later on. So I think that's another form of confidence, is saying you're not sure. That's not a sign of weakness. So keep that in mind. But so I'm curious, after Ryan's thing and knowing where the marketing world is for real estate agents, I wonder if there'd be a desire for like a small group. That's like we're talking about church, but a small group of people who want to get together and bounce ideas about video marketing and other things like that. Would there be a group of half a dozen people who want to get together and do something like that on a regular basis, so you don't feel like you're doing it all by yourself? Anybody?
Yeah, I would. That sounds like fun.
Okay. And it can involve happy hour, if that helps, maybe. So, but you get better ideas.
I think it'd be helpful too if sometimes if we're doing these videos and stuff like that, it'd be helpful to have extra hands and stuff at some of these houses. I mean, that might be a good little resource, a group of people working together on their marketing.
Well, and it can even kind of turn it into like what used to be and I've never really seen this in our area, but I know they exist, more of what they call it, the broker open house. Maybe if you've got several agents, maybe especially if the client is okay with it, unoccupied home, or the seller's just fine with you shoot video, maybe 2 or 3 people meet up and shoot videos in the house, and other agents help market the home for you. And heck, they might find a buyer. I mean, I think that'd be a fun way to kind of share a listing and help maybe younger agents, newer agents have something to attract buyers. Just a thought. Any ideas on that? Boy, a rowdy crowd today.
On a different topic, Paul.
Yes.
This happened to me twice this week, so I assume other people will get this. The national news, as rates have backed up 50, 60 basis points, and then you layer that with some things going on in the world, it would not surprise me to see some housing weakness, especially in those volatile markets. So those are the markets that make the news. So be prepared for people. But the text I got yesterday is, hey, should we wait on this? It looks like housing's, kind of pausing for a bit. And so I had to immediately get back to them and let them know, no, actually, in our market and the price range you're in, it's business as usual. And so get ready for that. Those are the things. So know your stats, know the average days on market, know where their property is likely to fit in that average days on market. If you've got a one-off type property and average days on market is 50 days, don't go in there saying 50 days, so the average is 50, but for the uniqueness of your property, my expectations are more 3 to 4 months and that sort of thing. So, we watch the narrative. The national narrative sometimes will layer over what we have going on. I'm sure the leaders in your market by far at Southland, you're up double digits in volume and units through the first 2 months of the year. I had the worst February I've had in my career, FYI. But the market, the office as a whole that dominates your county is up. So, feel free to share that kind of thing. So that's why I'm excited about the rest of the year. Market hasn't quite performed. Todd didn't get the rates down like he said he would, but our people have kind of got their unfair share collectively in the first few months.
Yeah, the current national median day on market is around 70 days. And you've got like Austin, it's around 100. Gulf Coast, Florida is 85 plus. Some of these other places where there's a lot of new construction are 100 plus, where, we're not, and if people are hearing the median and they're hearing the focus on these bigger cities, they're coastal cities or Texas, Florida, some of them where they've had just tons of new construction. It can make people a little confused or think that we're in that same situation. And we've got to be the educators and, like Lonnie said, and tell people, get off the ledge. We're not really that bad here. So at least not now.
I know of one peculiar that's 259 days plus.
That's the age of the clients too, isn't it? But,
yes.
259 something, but
and their agent.
Yeah. I was being nice. I wasn't saying that. But that's a long time. And it's all about price, isn't it? Yeah. That's
another good one that I've used for years when I'm a little uncertain. Let's just say it's a 450 house and it's one of the nicer ones in the subdivision, might take a little longer, is going back to hey, I'm going to do the comps for you. I'll share a range for you. If you're like most sellers, you'll want to set it at the top of the range. And we like to do that. That gives us the ability to move lower if we need to, but no, we didn't leave any money on the table. And also, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, what I'm finding is my sellers are getting the prices we're hoping for. It's just taking a little bit longer. And since you're not in a hurry, you're not being transferred to Denver this month, and so like many of my clients where their hair is on fire, you get to run this play the way we prefer anyway. So you just kind of diffuse the thing a little bit with those kind of comments, and it will help the entire process. And then when they freak out 2 weeks in, then you can remind them of that conversation.
Josh has a client, the house went live today, and they said they didn't want to do a 6-month listing agreement because the last guy took 5 months to sell the house. So I told Josh, I said, well, you got to make sure they're making the house as appealing as possible. And so I went over and we looked at things they need to do. I mean, the condition it was in at that time, it wouldn't go FHA or VA. It would appealing paint and broken window and things like that. So I had told him, I said, you need to make sure they're willing to increase the odds of that selling with the biggest buyer pool. And how are they? It's a flip. So how tight are they? Do they have the ability to adjust the price if they don't get the traffic right away? And because I told him, I said, if you're going to shorten your term, you got to make sure they're playing the game to win too. And if they're not, then they're not. It's not a fair game. So I think he got him to 4 months on the listing agreement. But these are people who are flipping, and he went to school with the girl, I think, and their family's doing several flips a year. So this could be a great opportunity. But he had to, set them up, do his best to make sure they're set up for success. But yes,
it was. They initially asked about 60 days is what they wanted. So they just, I think, when she messaged me, she started by asking weird question and asked how I market homes in less desirable areas. So and that was her first question. That's when she reached out. So I kind of had a feeling there's something unique. So, but yeah, they wanted 60 days, and I actually we're doing 3 months, and I told them I'd charge a fee at the end of that if they decide to move on and go with somebody else, at least cover photographer and other stuff. I told her it'd be $1,000 if I did 60 days. And then she asked if I'd do it longer, if the fee would be reduced. So I asked like 5 questions. She answered them all right. So I did 3 months without a fee, which hopefully I don't regret. But do you have wiggle room on the price? If you need to get this out of it and are unwilling to do price reductions, then I'm not going to make that commitment. And same with doing work on it. And we told them things Tuesday. They went over yesterday and fixed everything we told them to do. And it's live today. So they seem pretty proactive. So hopefully assuming they're willing to work with us on price reductions if needed, then it should be all right. But yeah, they were really hesitant completely opposed their 6-month agreement. Just kind of interesting. I haven't had that before.
Where's the house at?
Independence.
Post it on our chat so that we can try to get you a deal before your days run up.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It's at Sterling and 40 Highway in Independence, just north of 40 Highway.
Yeah.
What's the price point, Josh?
$243, 4-bed, 3-bed.
Well, I'm just going to say that my theory is that not everybody can afford a $300,000 house. So
yeah.
There's buyers out there that they are going to be well aware that this is their price point.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of those this year. So yeah, stay positive.
Yeah, especially 4-bed, 3-bath. And they're not huge bedrooms upstairs, but they could put in a full additional full bathroom upstairs, so it's a little more convenient for the 2 bedrooms up there. So yeah, I feel pretty good about it, but I'm never a lot of pressure with the 3 months. I've never taken that long to sell a listing. I also sell 1 listing a year. So, but yeah, I'm a little nervous on it, but as long as I don't make it to 3 months, it'll be fine.
Hey, Josh, don't sweat it too much. I mean, at one point in 2021, and I think some of the leadership on here will remember, we had sellers asking for 30-day listings. We had agents out there marketing 30-day listings. And I'm like, man, you just have yourself zero leeway if this doesn't go well. And most of those homes did sell, but it was more of a marketing scheme to get hired over maybe another agent. And I think if we explain it well on how we market things and how we attract buyers, I still like to go to, I want 10 showings to come through that. I want 10 buyers to come through that door that are qualified with their agent on private showings, not open houses. If I can get 10 people through there as fast as possible, we will produce an offer most likely. If not, then we know it's going to be priced. We'll look at conditions, but we need to adjust the price at that point. And if they get 10 showings in 2 weeks and no offer, then you know what to do. If it takes forever to get 10 showings, then you know you've missed the mark somewhere. So again, just elaborate on that and just educate them. You'll do great, man.
Yeah. Well, and they had a price in mind when they came to me. So for what they want to get out of it. So it's so I advised them, and they're pretty spot on, I think. Comps, I could see it going, $5 to $10 under, but they wasn't that crazy. And if they came in at something crazy, then that 3-month agreement without a fee at the end of it would have been even more scary. The price was reasonable. They're willing to do price reductions, and they're willing to do whatever work we tell them to do. So, or advise them they should do. So it seems worthwhile, but we'll see what happens.
Hey, I had a quick question.
Has anybody had to
that.
do? Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Has anybody had to enact like the protection period where it says if there's something goes under contract 90 days after this agreement ends, that if any of those buyers had seen it during your agreement, you can still get a commission? Has anybody had that happen?
I just had the conversation last week and reminded them that we can be done with this contract if you want to. Just remember, there is a clause in the contract where any of those people that came and looked at it in that meantime, you're still obligated to pay my fees. So we're still under contract, but still, that it had to be discussed.
I had a question regarding Josh saying that he was going to potentially charge them for TC photography. If we do that, it's coming from the client, not another brokerage. Does that have to come through the brokerage, or does that just come to us?
I think it's more like a cancellation fee, and I think it has to come through the brokerage.
This
Okay.
came up briefly on, I don't know when, on Monday, maybe, when Hannah was teaching the class. And I trust Hannah when she says, you can't just get a Venmo, it has to go through the brokerage. So I think she had talked probably to Darren about it at some other point, but
Okay.
that did come up, and that was what she said, that it has to go through the pipeline.
Gotcha. Okay. I always thought that was if it came from another brokerage. That's why I was not real sure. So,
Right. Jake, I did have an agent call me the other day actually and ask for my clients that I had shown a property to, because her clients had taken off the market and she needed to have every person that had gone through the property on her list. So they must have canceled, and she had that 90-day. So she was asking me to submit my client's name to her. So they must have had something go south.
oh,
Well, what do you do whenever, if you do have a cancellation, you're going through like that realtor is and keeping a list of buyers, but then let's say the sellers get a contract without you, and it was through that 90-day, was a buyer that under your contract. And how do you get that seller to tell you the buyer's name? Because I'm sure they would be reluctant to give that information out to you because they don't want to pay that fee. So how do you get them to do that?
Well, I think if we follow the listing agreement, the verbiage, and I haven't read it in a while, but I think we have upon cancellation or expiration, I think it's on us to provide them the protected party list, which honestly, in most cases, is at best one or two people. To go through and research the 30 people that looked at a house, I've never seen anybody do that, but somebody just mentioned they have. But if I know that there's an agent like, hey, this is their number one choice, they're just not quite ready, that's perfect. And if I'm breaking up with a seller, then that's when we just look at the listing agreement, read what it says, and we do that to the seller and say, be sure the Johnson family and Jackson family are both excluded parties should you choose to relist the property. A commission is due to the brokerage in the event that these people are to purchase the home. And then when they hire Jenny with Century 21, then they'll just go, hey, Jenny, when I broke up with Lonnie Branson on this thing, they had two parties that had shown some interest, and I'm going to need them excluded from the listing going forward. And so at that point, if those people, say they list with Jenny and they're going, here comes an offer, and it's those people, Jenny knew about it, the seller knew about it, it should immediately it should circle back to you to transact the business. Very rarely does this happen. I mean, has anybody ever had it happen?
No.
Yeah, it's very, very rare.
Yeah.
So I have
It's rare.
I have a question. So I had a guy reach out to me. He was on the market. He was under contract and it fell through. Anyway, he's been very unhappy with his agent, and he said, my contract is expiring and I want to go ahead and work with you. Can I do that and just have it effective like the very next day after it expires? Or is there a certain amount of time you have to wait till it expires, or how is that?
Yeah, you can have the document signed. Let's say he's expiring May 15th. You literally could have a listing going live May 16th or going into pre-MLS. Give you time to do pictures and get it ready for a few days. Yeah, you can have those backed up.
Okay.
all right.
Great questions, by the way. Gosh, you guys have some good ones today.
Well, we're approaching 11 o'clock. So I just want to say, if anybody, I don't think Jake mentioned an interest, if anybody's interested in doing a kind of a marketing mastermind, I guess, for lack of a better word. I think that'd be kind of fun, even if it's every couple of weeks, just bounce some ideas off one another. And if we want to get creative and make sure we're not, make sure we're enjoying what we're doing and have some fun and maybe get some business at the same time, that'd be all right. So let's plan on that and get together. And we'd maybe invite Ryan to some of those too, if we want to have some input on video stuff. He's got some pretty good ideas on things too. Anyone else have anything going on? Oh, and Tim did share that some stuff from MREC, that money does for sure need to go through the brokerage. So thanks, Tim. All righty. Nothing else. Have a wonderful day, guys. And
Thanks, Paul.
enjoy the
Good
weekend.
call.
Enjoy the
Good
weekend.
call, Paul.
Thank
buddy.
you.
Thanks,
Thank
Paul.
you.
Take care.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.